If you want to learn about Islam and Muslims, stay tuned to Salam Radio 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. You are listening to Friday Night Prime live on Salam Radio 106.2 FM with me, Akeel Khalil. Friday Night Prime is your weekly chat show where we delve into the fascinating world of discussions with remarkable individuals from all walks of life. And joining me this evening, I have two wonderful guests here with me in the studio. We have Eva Woods, the Youth MP for Peterborough, and we also have Maria Ali, who is part of the Youth Voice team. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It's good to have you both. I know we've had a lot of discussions. It's taken some effort to get ourselves to this point, but I really do appreciate you being here this evening. I'm sure many, many young people across the city will be as well. So Eva Woods is the Youth MP for Peterborough. She's been in post for the last 2 years, and her role includes speaking on behalf of young people in local and national decision making, as well as engaging young residents to understand their priorities and so on, which I'm told she does a great job. We'll find out soon enough. And the Youth Council, which is part of Maria's remit, represents each school in the city as well as young people in education. So it's really a pleasure of mine to have you both here with us this evening. And there's a lot to get through, and I hope you're up for it.
Definitely, looking forward to it.
Excellent. So as the show was promoted during the course of the week, I had a lot of questions that were coming in, Eva, about the Youth MP. There were many young people in the city who said to me they never heard of it.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, I started to think to myself, okay, you know, as a young person, you know, why would they not know? I know the exposure that you guys have, and is it enough? So I'm assuming you're not reaching everyone. So I'd like to ask you, Eva, what attracted you to become a youth MP?
Well, I've been involved in sort of community work and creativity with young people and different opportunities that involve trying to give young people a better platform and teach them to find their voice for a long time. But I never really see myself as being somebody who was up for a leadership role, and it was actually a teacher who pushed me forward, knowing that I'd been involved in the Youth Council and that I'd been involved in other projects, and said, you should go for this. And I decided to, and it was throughout that campaign process that, as we were kind of refining our thoughts, whittling down what we were campaigning for, what we stood for, that I really refined, actually, this is something I want to do. And it's been never looking back from there. I've learned a lot about what needs to happen in the city and establish my part in it too.
Awesome. I can't help but feel like you were probably... So the teacher who approached you clearly saw your skill set, your passion already at a very young age, and felt this was the right. Was there a selection process then? Even though you were chosen by your teacher, did that then involve having to go to the council or whoever it may be? So could you talk us through that?
Yeah, it's quite topical actually, because this has just happened over the past few weeks, and we're actually in an election period now. So the way youth MPs are selected is they are actually democratically elected by young people in their constituency. So the fact that my teacher said you should go for this was in response to an open call out that had been sent out to all the schools saying, we're recruiting a new youth MP, express your interest. So I expressed my interest. We came to a big meeting down at the council offices where we found out more about what being a youth MP involves, what people have done in the past, and what you need to do to get involved. And from there, you had to create a video manifesto, which the current candidates who will be elected in a few weeks' time have just done. And in your video manifesto, you have 1 minute to explain your 3 top priorities were you to be elected, and to try and sell yourself both through your delivery and what you stand for to young people. Those videos are shown in schools and youth clubs and places where young people gather across the city, and young people are given the chance to vote. And when I was elected, it was 25% of young people in Peterborough who took part in that vote, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 1 in 4. And if you think about in local elections, sometimes the turnout's in the 30%. So it's quite a legitimate vote. And that's how a youth MP comes into post. So there is a heavy democratic element to it. It was really in that process that I thought, this is for me, because the more you have to refine everything you stand for into a 1 minute speech and present that, you have to be quite sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, of course, you were a young, am I right in thinking 16-year-old at the time?
Yeah, 16
So you would have been doing your GCSEs and all the pressure from, making sure that you get over the line with that. So all of the exams and so on. And then on top of that, you're, that says a lot about you, Eva, if you want to be quite frank with you. It's amazing, really. And would you say that over the course of the last couple of years, you've seen more and more people, certainly people from your age group, your generation, wanting to get involved in this type of work? Or do you feel like, while you've been in your post, it's been more of a time where, you have been trying to fight fires that you haven't been able to put out?
Funnily enough, I was in a school yesterday speaking to some young people, and a lot of the same as you said, the young people who have been sending in questions didn't know this existed. The school I was in yesterday, a lot of the young people hadn't heard of this, even though I know for a fact they voted in the election 2 years ago. So I think there is a massive appetite amongst young people to get involved in things. And actually, there are so many things across the city for young people to get involved with. I mean, lots of people listening, if you have children or if you're a young person yourself, you know just how many activities there are for young people, and just how many of those lead to opportunities to make change. It's just that those opportunities and those incredible things that are happening aren't necessarily connected to these programs like Youth Parliament and Youth Council, and they don't always have an audience with senior decision makers. So I worked hard in my term to try and get youth issues on the agenda in those kind of important, I mean, all discussions in the community are important, but these strategic decisions made in the council and business. But actually what I would love to see happening more often is for those young people who didn't know they had a youth MP, didn't know they had a youth council, whatever they're doing to make change and whatever they're passionate about, we want to see more join up so that what they're doing is also being brought before decision makers, and it doesn't all sit with one person who may be elected, yes, but they can't possibly represent everybody all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what you said there. So I have to ask you, Eva. So whose responsibility is it that not enough people, young people in the city, don't know about you, or don't know enough about this service, don't know enough about Youth MP and the sway it has within the council?
Well, of course, an element of it comes down to me and my work. And as you said, I was a student for most of the time and isn't my role. I now work full time. And there are so many things that I would have wanted to do to push that out more, to be present in more schools, to be going out to more youth groups, to push social media. But there isn't always the resource for that, both the Youth MP's time, because it's important they're a young person and they're going through a young person's life, because then they have that lived experience, but it also means that they're not able to do this full time most of the time. So part of it sits with me. Part of it sits with, I would love for things like this to be better connected to people who have funds in the city, whether that be partnerships with the private sector or pots of funding which the council or other public sector bodies have access to, for those to be channelled into making youth voice a bigger thing. And funnily enough, a piece of work I've been working on at the moment is a communication strategy which tries to look in detail at how do we get the word about things that are going on out to young people. So the boring answer to the question is, to some extent, it's hard to identify who the buck stops with, whose fault it is, because actually, as soon as we identify how is best to get through young people, whether that's through schools or social media, we can find the resource and the people we need to do that. And it'll be when we start going for that resource and those people and trying to get them on board that it may become more of a, come on now, we know we need you in this conversation, so what can we do to make you join in? It becomes more clear whose responsibility it is. Yeah,
I understand. And obviously the incoming, whoever that may be, is who gets elected, that's certainly going to be on their priority list of things to do, I assume.
Yeah, I can imagine. Who doesn't want more visibility for what we're trying to achieve?
Yeah, I understand. Maria, I have to ask you, so, how does the Youth Council address the diverse concerns of young people in Peterborough?
So the Youth Council, we do try to make sure they represent all young people in Peterborough. Obviously, we can't completely do that, but the way we recruit them is we have spaces for 2 young people in each secondary school. They're aged between 11 and 19, so not just secondary schools, but colleges. And then we have spaces for young people who might be homeschooled or not in education, employment or training as well. So we try and recruit across Peterborough, and we have about 45 young people recruited every year, and we do quite well. We have quite a good relationship with schools, so we engage well across there, and every year when we recruit we do get more and more applications. Last year we had nearly 100 applications to join the Youth Council, it is quite a representative
group.
And do you find that have you struggled with the local schools, or have they embraced this?
It's always a bit of a challenge, but I think we are doing quite well with school engagement, as long as you have the right teachers who you have contacts with, or you're in touch with the right leadership team contact, then it's great. But obviously, when teachers change and there's a staff turnover, you're always having to keep on top of that. But we're doing much better since pre-COVID, I'd say. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it sounds like a ongoing, challenging situation, but yeah, I mean, it's great to see. I can tell you, from my generation, we never had anything like this. So it's great to see that there is a youth council, and there are efforts being proactively made with schools, to try and get people involved, have their representation. So it is really good to see.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, 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 yeah. Let me tell you about my happiness. I get my happiness from Islam. It makes me kind and a better human. Oh, please come with me and I'll show you why. I smile because I'm happy. I'm a Muslim, that's what makes me happy, and that's the truth. Because I'm happy, because I have the noble Quran, and that's where I get my rules. Because I'm happy, because my Lord is merciful, and He is the forgiving one. Because I'm happy, and I have the Sunnah, which dictates what my life should do. Okay, come on. In Islam we have one God. Muhammad is His final messenger. Peace be upon Him. We are taught to love and respect all. Don't believe what you hear about Islam. I smile because I'm happy. I'm a Muslim, that's what makes me happy, and that's the truth. Because I'm happy, because I have the noble Quran, and that's where I get my rules. Because I'm happy, because my Lord is merciful, and He is the forgiving one. Because I'm happy, and I have the Sunnah, which dictates what my life should do. I just wanna tell the world that we're happy. Just because we're Muslim doesn't mean we're angry. But when we see our fellow Muslims that are suffering, we just wanna help, cause we're one big family. I'm happy, I'm a Muslim, that's what makes me happy, and that's the truth. Because I'm happy, cause I have the noble Quran, and that's where I get my rules. Because I'm happy, because my Lord is merciful, and He is the forgiving one. Because I'm happy, and I have the Sunnah, which dictates what my life should do. Because I'm happy, I'm a Muslim, that's what makes me happy, and that's the truth. Because I'm happy, because I have the noble Quran, and that's where I get my rules. Because I'm happy, because my Lord is merciful, and He is the forgiving one. Because I'm happy, and I have the Sunnah, which dictates what my life should do. I'm so happy I'm a Muslim.
That was Omar Issa's version of Happy by Pharrell Williams. Great track.
Love it.
Yeah, I like both of them, both versions. So if you're just tuning in, I have with me this evening Eva Woods, Youth MP, and Maria Ali from the Youth Voice team from the council. If you'd like to get involved in the show, you can by texting us on 07411 191 062, or you can call the show on 01733 602 133, as well as comment on our live streams, Facebook, YouTube, X, or Twitch.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
So, I've been thinking about what you guys have been doing. I've asked myself a question, which is, can you both, each of you, I'll start with Mario first, share a memorable experience from your involvement in local projects?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to pick the one that was most recent.
Okay.
Last summer, the Youth Council organised something called the Youth Fest, which is hopefully going to be an annual event in the summer where they organise for local groups, like youth groups, sports groups, charities who offer things for young people to come together and kind of showcase what they do. So we had that at the university building, and then we also in the afternoon had a panel discussion with local decision makers with the Youth Council facilitating and hosting that. And Eva was on the panel as our elected youth MP, but we also had the CEO of the council, we had the principal of the university, we had the MP, we had the leader of the city council. So we had quite a representative group of local leaders who were being asked questions that were written by young people. So we had questions submitted from local young people for young people, and that was live streamed on the Youth Council's Instagram page, and young people could attend live as well.
Amazing. Over to you, Eva.
I'm going to zoom in on the local projects part of that, because if people know nothing about being a youth MP, there's so many cool stuff you get to do nationally. Like you get to speak in the House of Commons, you get to meet with young campaigners from across the UK, and all that's really cool. But what is really important to me is the impact this can have in Peterborough, because we're such a small community and everybody knows everybody and there's so much to be achieved. So one thing I'm really proud of and I really enjoyed was back in November, where we got together in Peterborough Museum all sorts of people from across the community, from people in the local media to youth group leaders to people in schools and people from the council, all in one room to discuss this communication strategy, which I mentioned a few minutes ago, all about trying to understand how we can work together to get the word out to young people about opportunities. And that event just made me so proud to see so many people in one space talking about how we're all going to work together for the good of young people. And there were young people there too, so it wasn't about us without us. I thought that was really great.
That's awesome. That is well done, both of you. And did you get much momentum from that? Did you build from that?
Absolutely. So there was some really good feedback from different people in terms of what they saw their part in it being, and loads of people agreeing to stay in the loop moving forwards. And what I've done with that information since is distill it into bit of a draft strategy in terms of how we can put some of those ideas into practice, which will be ready for sharing with people in a couple of weeks' time, trying to get it into something really robust and we can all work on it together and really make a plan. But also, just because it's finished and it's out there doesn't mean that it's not going to be changing and adapting over time, because as we've seen in the last 5 years or so, the world can change completely overnight. So I'm really excited to keep this a community thing.
That's very true. Absolutely. So Eva, from a youth perspective, what do you feel our local councillors can do to improve things further?
Well, I think when projects like this are ongoing, where we're identifying what's needed to support young people, the gaps start to emerge in terms of, we start to see where with a bit of investment things could really improve. And I've had brilliant experiences with local councillors in my time in post, loads of people who are super passionate about young people, coming from all sorts of different angles, whether that be an environmental focus or an education focus or getting young people into government more generally focus. So I think what the council can do is keep an eye on the recommendations that are coming out from our youth representatives, our new youth MPs, our youth councillors and our youth workers as well. And when those recommendations come out, commit to working with us and fitting that in when funding streams become available. It's quite vague, but that's what I want to see. Okay, but
I have to pick you up on that. You know, you said that you met some wonderful councillors who are passionate about young people. They can't all be, surely. There must have been a situation, a scenario where, as a youth MP, there was a policy, right? They're working on a policy, and you felt in your capacity that this has to be better than this, or this should be better. Was there must have been a moment, there must have been a situation where you come across in the last 2 years that happened?
I mean, yeah, often that does happen. Often you do pick up things on the radio or in the Telegraph or stuff down in Westminster too, where you read it and you think, I'm not sure young people were consulted on that. I mean, I'd bring up the example of conversations that are happening at the moment about community spaces, which obviously none of it's finalised, and people are doing their best to involve the community as much as possible. But when things like that come up, when conversations do happen, that could have an impact on young people. When the administration changed as well, and we weren't sure what was going to be top of the agenda as new people came in and took up post. I find what has been good so far is portfolio holders have been quite responsive when young people want to engage with them. So we engage with, we managed to pass a motion in a scrutiny committee with the Youth Council around limiting junk food advertising, because that's something the Youth Council is passionate about. We managed to pass another motion in full council around training for council staff and members around violence against women and girls. So the council has worked pretty well with us on certain projects, and yes, sometimes it feels like conversations are happening that could impact young people and we don't feel consulted on it, but the onus does come on to us at that point, because we have had experiences being listened to previously, and if we're not happy about something, we can try picking it up. And that's why relationships like this one, us having a platform to speak to the community on a station like this, means that if we ever get to a point where we don't feel like we're being listened to, we can speak about that. But to this point, my experience has been pretty positive.
Okay. Good to know. So, Maria, turning to you now, how can young residents actively engage with the Youth Council's initiatives?
So I think firstly they should check out, most young people have an Instagram account, right? So they should check out their Instagram page. The Youth Council run that themselves with my support. So anything that they are getting up to, the meetings that they hold, the events that they're running, any surveys or engagement things that they're doing, that's all being published there. So that's kind of their archive of what they're getting up to. So I'd definitely tell them to check that out. Applications to join the Youth Council should hopefully be opening towards the end of April. We recruit every year, and we do have vacant spaces now because young people are constantly like growing older and going off to university or leaving. So there's that. But hopefully our youth councillors are going to come up a bit later on the show and talk about the work that they're doing at the moment. But there is an active campaign about youth stress and mental health that they're running at the moment, and we'd love for other young people to hear about that and get involved in that.
Absolutely. And is there a finite number of spaces in the Youth Council?
Unfortunately, there is. We'd love to have all young people interested join, but in order to keep things going and to make it a productive space, we do have limited spaces. So it's around 45 max capacity. But there is something called the Youth Voice Champions Network that young people can join. If they Google that, Youth Voice Champions Peterborough, they can find the information. But it's basically a newsletter that goes out regularly to young people that has loads of other youth voice opportunities. So just because you're not on the Youth Council doesn't mean you can't get involved.
That's great. And I hope people can, take this on. It does sound wonderful. But while you've been in post, has this grown? Has it always been 45, or can you see this growing? Obviously, the population's growing. Peterborough's growing. It's fast-growing city. There's a lot. And look, I understand what Eva was saying about our community spaces. There's lots of pressures on budgets and so on. But one thing we cannot deny is that this city is still growing at a rapid rate. There are many, many people who are choosing to live here. They may work outside of the city. Nevertheless, they are still going to have young people, children going to be growing up in this city. So with this growing at the pace it is, and hopefully with the influence that you're looking to have, can you foresee this growing, or do you think that this will forever be in that sort of 45, 50 capacity?
Well, in terms of how it's run and the structure, the governance is always up for change. We review the structure of it every year. So if we want to choose a different model to allow for more young people to join, that's definitely an option. But I would say that it's more important for young people to know what's going on in their local communities, get involved in their local youth groups, ask questions, and just get involved in more stuff. They might have very specific interests that the Youth Council aren't focusing on at the moment. So just having the confidence to ask questions and to pursue things that you're interested in is more important than just saying the Youth Council is going to be the only space that creates change, because there's student councils at schools, there's loads of other amazing initiatives going on that are around the area of youth voice.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. This is great. And, Eva, I have to ask you, I know you're leaving, you're almost out of your post, and, you've grown with the role. Of course you have. And there's going to be someone who replaces you. Now, I have to ask, is it going to be one person who replaces you? Is there going to be a couple? How is this going to change?
There are going to be 2 youth MPs for Peterborough for the upcoming 2-year term because, as you rightly mentioned, our population has grown, and even I've struggled to be everywhere at once. So hopefully we'll be able to cover more grounds with 2 new people in post, and that is an example of how our capacity changes to fit the city.
That's fantastic, and I suppose in many ways it just shows you, doesn't it, that it's a role that requires a lot of effort, and it's good to see that the council is recognising this by trying to resource it in that particular way. So, but you're not going to be going away forever, are you?
No, absolutely. I'm currently doing an internship with Peterborough City Council, so I will still be very much in the youth work space, and I also work for the Careers Hub, which comes through the Combined Authority, and I do lots of stuff with local community groups too, so I'm not going anywhere. And do reach out if you're a young person and you have any questions about what you can get involved with. Drop me a line because I should be able to signpost you.
That's wonderful, that is. And of course, your experience and your within the city and the things that you've been through as well, I think that'll do it'll be wonders for the young people getting in touch with you. And you, Murray, as well. It's fantastic, the work that you're doing. And I hope that the initiative grows and you have more people who join as well. We're coming up to a break now. So join us after the break for an insightful discussion with the members of the Youth Council. And stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. Thank you.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Isha Azan. This Azan is sponsored by Park Foods. Come and see the difference.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا.
Peterborough's community radio station, Salam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Welcome back to Friday Night Live Prime with me, Akeel Khalil, live in the studio with members of the Youth Council. But if you just joined us, don't worry, you can catch up back on our social media platforms. I've just had Eva Woods, the Youth MP, and Maria Ali, part of the Youth Council team, earlier on as well. But now in the studio with me is members of their team, and I've got the chair, Aryan, and I have the vice chair with me, Zara, here to talk about the Youth Council. So welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Good to have you both here with me in the studio. So, Aryan, as the chair, could you tell me what the Youth Council does?
So we're a group of young people who work with the City Council to help assist them in matters that affect the young people in the city. So we'll work with the council to put policies in place that might affect young people, such as junk food advertising, which we've previously done, or we might work with them to try and raise money for a charity such as CPSL Mind, which we also did.
Wonderful. And your role, Zara, as vice chair, what do you do?
Well, I generally just help Aryan with a lot of things. I'm there as a backup, basically. But it's a good role. It's just, you get to see a lot of behind the scenes, and it's quite interesting.
Wonderful. And do you both go to the same school?
No.
So let me just get this right. So the Youth Council have members from different schools, and what sort of ages are we talking?
So 11 to 19 is the ages we look at.
Okay, wonderful. And can an 11-year-old get the position of chair?
Yeah.
That is really good. That is really good. I like that. That's really, really good. So, Zara, if I can ask you, how do you ensure diverse representation within the Youth Council?
Well, obviously, when we're interviewing, we ask for everyone's ethnicities. But I think it's just, you want to get the cultural representation from everyone in Peterborough so you can have the different views. So we really try and focus on that, especially when we're doing the interviewing process. And
in its current format, how you're currently set up, would you say that you have a good, diverse group of people who are part of your team?
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I'd just like to add, currently I think we have not equal, but we have representatives from all groups that are, so if that be religion-wise, if that be ethnicity-wise, if that be racial-wise, we have all facets covered.
That's really, really good to know. Excellent. And it's for me, like I was saying to Mario earlier on as well, who's part of your team. We didn't have this when we were growing up. When we were at secondary school, there was no youth representation. I think the only thing I can think of would have been prefects, and that would have been it. And I'm going to show my age now, aren't I? Do prefects still exist?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so that was it. There was nothing else. So it is good to see that this is happening. And do you feel like that both with your team and both of you in your roles as well, that you do have a sway within the corridors of power? Do you feel like you have an influence on people who are, one, older than you, and two, within the council, where they take on board your feedback, your way of thinking, and especially what the city might need?
Yeah, so I'll take that question because I've just recently done a campaign where we've actually, worked with the council and to some extent against the council to help set in place a policy to ensure that junk food advertising is reduced in the city. So the specifics of the policy is still being decided, but it's on the lines of restricting the advertising of HFSS foods on council-owned land.
That's impressive. Can you tell a little bit more about this? So what brought this about? Was it something you saw nationally? Was it something that you felt was just happening in Peterborough? Was it something that was happening in your schools? Was it your friends? Was it, what made you feel that this was something that you needed to campaign on?
Yeah, we notice on a daily basis that young people are constantly being bombarded with junk food ads around them on a daily basis. So we watched a video where a young person's orders in a restaurant is completely being influenced by the advertisements he sees on the way there. So we thought this is a really big issue because rates of obesity are getting higher and higher as we're stepping into the future. So we decided to tackle this issue to try and lower the rates of obesity.
And how difficult was it to get this message across to people within the council, Zara?
Well, I didn't focus on this campaign. We had a whole group called the Community Food Champions, and we had over 100 plus signatures on it. So it was quite a large campaign. But I think Aryan can tell you more because he was actually on the team.
So how did you progress this?
Yeah, so initially the council actually denied our request for this.
Really?
They felt it was a bit too demanding and it wasn't going to be something that could actually take place in the future.
How did you take that? Sorry, I have to ask you, how did you take that rejection? There you are, you're concerned about your fellow friends and young people within the city, you're seeing these messages, you've got evidence showing you that people are using apps and websites and so on, linked with marketing, and then they're having all of these health issues. As young people, you can also see what's happening to the NHS and so on, I'm assuming, and then you're putting this all together, all this effort together, and you go to the powers that be with all of this evidence, and they say no. How did that feel?
I just have to point out, it wasn't the MPs that we went to.
Not the
we
MPs, the
went to
council. Yes, correct, yeah.
And I think it was important that we learned that, we can't just demand what we want. We have to prove that it's right. And we did that by creating a petition as the council had demanded. So when we created our petition and we showed them that this is an urgent issue and we have 100 people who are supporting us, then they actually realised that this is an important issue. It's not just something that a youth council group thinks. It's a citywide issue, and that's when they really supported us. And now, even when they're deciding the policy, they still come to ask us for help on how to word it, to make sure our views are heard.
Wonderful. And you're right, that is a lesson. Yeah, absolutely right. And so where are we now with it then?
So currently we're still in the planning phase of how to exactly word the council, and we're looking at contracts, because you cannot just end an advertising with a company, because you have to wait for the contract to end. So we're waiting for the contracts to end before we go ahead. Do you,
obviously, I've shared the exact date with me. Do you feel like this is going to happen this year or next year? Or
I'll give you a rough borderline of about 2 years, hopefully max. It should be hopefully set in place.
Okay, well, listen, well done. This is a very serious issue. It is a blight on society. We nationally, you can see this. There is scientific data to support this within the NHS, and we have seen bodies talking about this. But it's great to see that young people like yourselves and your team are passionate about something which will have a greater impact within the local community. So listen, that's really, really good. Well done with that. And it just segues nicely into where I wanted to ask you. Zara, actually, not just in the post that you're in now, but while you've been part of the youth team, what challenges have you faced in advocating for youth issues at the local level besides this?
Well, I think you definitely do realise that it's not an overnight thing. You do have to fight for it. And I think you really have to work on your communication skills. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with it. And that's what I really had to set in stone, that I've got to communicate with people for it to work.
Absolutely. And is this something that you felt was also something that was affecting your team? Did you all work together? Was this a communication piece that you did together? You felt, okay, this is what we need to learn broadly, or was that skill set already within your team, so potentially the task was passed on to someone else while you went and learned that?
I think it's both with me and the team. I think we both had that learning curve together as a team.
Okay, and I can't help but feel, I know, I don't want to ask you both how old you are on air, but how long are you in post for?
This is my second year.
Yeah, this is also my second year.
And how long does the chair and the vice chair have their role?
A year, and then we have to reapply.
Okay, and is it elections as well?
Yes. Yeah.
And is it chosen by your youth council team members?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, and how long can one stay in the youth council outside of being in your positions?
I think you can stay for you sign for 1 year, and then if you want to continue, then you can continue until your 20th birthday. So potentially, if an 11-year-old was to apply to be into the youth council, they get elected, and they really feel it's an amazing opportunity for them. They could stay for 9 years, which is a really considerably long time, and it will help them grow into a more mature person.
Yeah, I have to say that's a long time. That's definitely a long time. But no, it's interesting. So, would you recommend someone? If someone's listening to the show right now and they're 11 years old, what would be a good reason for them to join?
I think
I mean, remember, sorry, remember you're saying 9 years, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm just picturing the 9 years. You know, an 11-year-old is thinking about having an impact in society. Do you not think that's a long time? Or how would you pitch this to them?
9 years was just an extreme.
Yeah,
I was just
I know.
showing you,
So I'm deliberately picking up on it.
Yeah. 9 years was an extreme. Like if someone was really dedicated and they really felt committed, then 9 years is a max they could go into.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, I think the average term of a youth councillor is about 3 years, 2 years.
Okay, so I'm 11. I'm visibly not, I know, but I'm 11 and I'm listening to you, listening to all the wonderful work you're doing and the impact that you're having in the local communities, and I want to join. How do I join? Can you both give me a reason each of why I should join?
Well, I think for me, it really helped me build my confidence within myself and my work and just how my brain works. And I felt like I could be heard. And I think that's one of the best things you can get as a child.
And I felt it was a really great way for me to become more mature over the years.
Excellent. So I like that. So this is confidence, building skills, maturity, and being able to develop more skills that could help you later on in life.
Definitely, yeah.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Ready or not, death will come, you can't hide. The angels will find you and take you slowly. Ready or not, death will come, you can't hide. The angels will find you and take you slowly.
Now that I'm awake, I feel I must relate. Light to all the people, cause the sky looks great. Although the mind does sway, I know that mine won't stray. Because the power up above will lead the righteous straight. Wallahi. Devil's breath getting closer as I search for piety, discovering a higher me. Devil keeps on trying me. Your outlook on society determines what you try and be. Our walls will be left. Lord protect me. Keep a couple ackies close cause they will correct me. Keep me straight up on the path so I walk correctly. Prophet taught me when I taught that I should talk directly and try and purify my heart before he resurrects me.
Ready or not, death will come, you can't hide. The angels will find you and take you slowly. Ready or not, death will come, you can't hide. The angels will find you and take you slowly.
Ready or not, when you're timed on it on. There's no reset button, you can push when it comes. There's no money that can save you. Path that you can run, you have it in the grace of God or in a fire you got born. Listen, preacher, I ain't trying to be a teacher. The devil's got a hold of you and I'm just trying to reach ya. I'm trying to save your soul from its eternal abode. I'm your spiritual guide, come to see ya, pleased to meet ya.
You can't run away from predestination, Habibi, Habibi. Yes, it's written all for you. Anywhere you go, the angels will find you, Habibi, Habibi. You can't hide from the light, oh yeah.
It's kinda hard, I know, to realize the truth is so. Dim though it may seem, but in reality it's so beautiful in ways that only relate with your soul. Spiritual awakening is what I've come to know.
Ready or not, death will come, you can't hide. The angels will find you and take you slowly. Ready or not, death will come, you can't hide. The angels will find you and take you slowly.
That was Ready or Not by Khalid Sadiq. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. Great song. I have here with me in the studio the chair of People's Youth Council, Ariane, and the vice chair, Zara. And we've been talking about all of the different things that they do within the council, how you join and the impact that you can have within the city, what age you can be when you join. And it's fascinating. It's really, really great work that you guys are doing. So I do appreciate that. Now, I would like to know, what is the current campaign? I know you've done the food side of things now, but what are you currently working on?
Well, as a team, we do... every year we focus on a new campaign or carry on, but this year we decided to choose a new one, and we looked at the things that impact youth the most, and we really pinpointed on pressure and stress because we realised that's such a big affecting factor of a young person's day. So we decided to focus on pressure and stress and how we could help like relieve it or just see what like works, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, so then we decided to create a survey, and we've launched the survey officially. And it's been a couple of days since we've launched it, and it's been a success so far. We've got 112 responses, thanks mainly to, I'd like to give a shout out to our youth council rep in Kings, which is Miriam, who sent it out to her school, and we've got, I think, 70, 80 response from her school only, so that's really good. And the survey can be accessed on Instagram at Peterborough Youth Council. I repeat, at Peterborough Youth Council. And I'd really recommend doing that survey, because it's not only good because we can analyse the data and help young people, help us help young people in the city, but there's also a chance to win £50 voucher on there.
Okay, and just to double check, that's at Peterborough Youth Council on Instagram. Is that all one word?
Yeah.
We're spelling Peterborough correctly in the full form, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, really, really good and important work that you guys are doing there. Look, if you want to get involved in the show, you can text the show on 07411 191062.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
Arian, how does the Youth Council collaborate with local organisations and leaders?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, so we collaborate with local businesses with the help of our youth MP, Eva. Now, Eva's role as a youth MP is to bring together a group of adults and local decision makers who the Youth Council can potentially contact for their campaigns. Additionally, Youth Council members, such as myself and others, when we're working on our campaigns, we pinpoint key decision makers and stakeholders we want to target for each campaign, and we try and contact them via their secretaries or by their personal email IDs.
Great. Okay, that's interesting. So, and it's going well.
Yeah, it generally.
Do you
goes well,
do you get responses quickly? And people are taking you seriously. I know we were talking earlier on to Maria and Eva about just how well known these organisations are within the city. Do you find that the local organisations and they respond with knowledge of your organisations?
I'd say on about 70-80% do respond quite quickly and quite formally and give us the respect that we deserve as young people. But as always, there are some exceptions, and I don't want to just highlight them. I want to highlight the good things that are currently going on. So some businesses, even though we have never spoken to them, actually come to some of our campaigns. One example was the mental health campaign. A local business came to us and actually, they saw us working hard by trying to sell books for a charity, and they gave us some free lunch.
That's wonderful, isn't it? Okay, so what are your thoughts on the Youth Council's initiatives? You can share with us at.
To get involved, call 01733 602 133. This is Salam Radio.
So the Youth Council is growing. You're having more influence across the city. You have campaigns running. You've had a successful one. You're running another really important one now about mental health. I think this is really great, by the way. There's a lot of young people. In fact, it's society, isn't it, really? But young people, especially, who have a lot of pressure on their shoulders in this day and age. With their studies and jobs and all these other things that are happening. And it's good to see that there is an organisation like yourself out there who's thinking about them and wanting to do something that has a positive change, which may not happen in the short term, but medium to long term, of course, it will have an impact. So I think that's great. But is there anything else that you feel that more can be done? Do you feel, can local businesses help you guys more? I mean, is there, I was talking, as we were speaking to Maria and Eva earlier on in the show, how can your message reach more people?
Yeah, I think definitely the work still needs to be done. And I think local business, for example, can help that by supporting us in our campaigns that we do. So if we contact any local businesses, we hope that, they respond back to us with and soon enough so that we can actually work with them. And that's something I'd like to say, failures do happen, and we sort of struggled with during our youth fest we organised in the summer. We had contacted a lot of organisations, but some of them didn't respond to us, and I felt it didn't really reflect of the youth's potential.
Okay, yeah. And do you feel, will there be another youth fest in 2024?
I think we're planning another summer event, or we will start planning one. And I think there probably will be a youth fest, but we might change up what is in it or what it contains.
Okay. And how many have there been over the years?
So I think this actually last year's was our first one.
Okay.
proper one. Yeah.
Okay, and look, things can only get better, right? Yeah. Okay, and it sounds like obviously with all the hard work that you're putting in and the impact that you're having, hopefully you will have more businesses and organisations that do get along. I mean, I attended a session with I think it was about youth news.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. It was a session you guys had. I think it was Youth Council. We had Eva there, and so on. I found it fascinating, that we had a situation here where young people are looking to have their voice heard. Right, you need organisations here, whether it's businesses, but ourselves and other organisations, local government, whoever it may be, to open those doors for you, to enable the next generation to have a positive impact within society. And it was a great meeting. There was lots of organisations that were there and are looking to try and help with the building blocks to what this will look like in the future. But where do you see, Zara, where do you see the Youth Council in a couple of years from now?
I see it as a much bigger thing. I think, especially because COVID was such a big setback, I think, with the Youth Council, but our following's only growing. I mean, I'm a social media officer and I see we're gaining followers every single day. And I think it's really great because I think as the years go on, youth voice is getting more heard in Peterborough because the council is taking up on it, and I think it's just going to go forward from here.
And are you? I know you have your youth council, but are you actively looking for volunteers, for people to join your projects and so on? Is that something that you do?
Yes, I think the biggest way in people who aren't part of the Peterborough Youth Council can help us is by doing surveys we send out, because that's the only way we can get the wider view of young people in the city. Because at the end of the day, we can only represent a certain amount of people. There's always people we won't be able to reach, and if they're able to complete surveys and share things they feel is important to us, then we'll be able to campaign and make a big change for them.
And as Zara is the social media manager, how can people get in touch with all of your different social channels?
We have Instagram's our main platform, and it is run by the Youth Council. But we also have Maria has Facebook, so you can get in touch with her or Eva. So
let's go through them. So what's the handles then? Give me the handle for Instagram.
Peterborough Youth Council.
And Facebook?
I think it's just Maria Ali. Yeah.
Okay, and what about, are you guys on TikTok?
No. We're planning on starting
on it. Okay, that's coming soon, because I'm hearing young people love TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good. Okay, so surveys is one of them, and then obviously when you have your events in the city, obviously partaking in those events as well, that would be good. I mean, this is great. This is great to see that young people are trying to own their own conversations within the city and having an impact, having an influence within the localities as well. Have you come across a scenario where you just felt that you just can't help, or something's just not gonna, a door's just not gonna open? Like for example, there was a policy that was being made, you weren't consulted, but it was going to have a huge impact on you guys. I'm not saying from a political impact perspective. I know that's not what you guys get involved in, but do you, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that there are a lot of decisions that have been made, and ultimately a lot of them are going to affect you. And do you feel like that this service that you have, that you guys are doing, that this is should grow to a point where you have the council that invite you in regularly and take on board your thoughts?
Well, I think we're closely linked with the council, so I don't think there's very much that we're not actually consulted on. They really do value our opinion, which I think is so great, because obviously it's giving the youth perspective. So I think it is quite a good thing,
Yeah, I'd just like to add on, examples of that is that for each scrutiny meeting, we are offered some seats for that, to make sure that we are aware of what's going on in the council and we can share our views with the whole council. So that's for adults and health, young people, for finance, I think. Climate change as well,
And as young people who go into this environment where people are making these key decisions, how do you find it? Do you find it overbearing? Do you relish the opportunity to go and see the MP or see the leader of the council or the subordinates and so on, and have those conversations? Is it something that you enjoy doing?
Well, my first meeting, it was very. I think it was just quite a lot to take in. Yeah. But I genuinely think it's a great opportunity to be able to do, and I love being able to give my opinion on the behalf of youth, because it's just, I feel like we're being heard now, and I think it's more of a community effort and not just the adults.
And from your knowledge, Arian, do you know if this is being replicated across other councils?
Yeah, I think most councils do have in the scrutiny committees have representatives of the youth. So I think it's a national-wide thing.
And in Cambridgeshire, do you link up? Is there a conversation between youth or not? Or is it just you guys are all in silos?
That's usually done by the youth MPs.
Okay, I understand. Yeah. Okay. Sounds great. I can tell you now, when I was your age, I can't think of anything further than wanting to be around people who would have been in the corridors of power. So, I salute you. I think this is wonderful. I think it's what you guys are doing is fantastic. I wish you well. We have your social media handles, of course, Instagram, Facebook. They can find you on there if they want to get involved. If they want to take part in what you do, then the surveys are really key, and then I'm looking forward to hopefully you do get your youth fest going, but I think it's fantastic what you're doing, so keep up the good work. I hope to see this grow. I remember listening to what Mario had to say earlier on as well about the number of positions. I can only see this growing, and I think it's a much needed initiative across the city. So I commend you. I think it's fantastic. And this will have an impact. Maybe not in your tenure. As the more young people come along, maybe there'll be an 11-year-old who might do the 9-year stint, Arian.
Definitely, yeah. I wish them good luck. They're going to do 9 years,
yeah. Okay, well, listen, thanks for tuning in tonight. I look forward to your company again next week. And in the meantime, have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Thank you.
Stay tuned to